Check. Okay. This video comes to talk about probably the most emotionally charged, if not the biggest in general reason why people struggle with the existence of God. And that's the problem of pain. This video comes at a very interesting time for me in my personal life, but that's another conversation for another day. Needless to say, a comment also arose about this, so I wanted to make just a short conversation. So what we're going to talk about here is what is the problem of pain, going a little bit deeper, and then how does Christianity, specifically in the God of Christianity, Yahweh, and the incarnation of him and his son, Jesus Christ, answer this question of the problem of pain. So the problem of pain, there's layers to it, but I mean, it's the question we've all asked of why God, why does pain exist? Or in a more philosophical sense, why does an all-knowing, loving, all-powerful, perfect God let pain and suffering and ultimately evil to exist? And so a lot of people say, because God allows for disease and for death and for war and for, horrible things to happen to innocent people, like truly innocent people, then God can't exist. He just can't exist. Or if he does, he doesn't care. If he does, he's not involved in our lives, or he's not perfect because all of this pain and suffering exists. And this is really, really interesting because the more and more that I think about it, the problem of pain isn't actually a problem with pain itself. And here's why. Because there's plenty of times that what you see is conversations where people are like, I went through cancer, I went through, whatever it is, this horrible, traumatic, deadly, destructive event in my life, and I survived, and now I'm stronger for it. And these people will say, I would do it all over again if I got to grow and be the person that I am today. So truly, this isn't a problem with pain, because people are willing to accept pain that is healed. They are willing to accept pain that ends. And so the question of the problem of pain is actually a problem of non-healing, of pain that doesn't end, of, in a sense, unhealed wounds or scars that last forever, scars that leave someone completely changed for the worse. And really we see this in the biggest example is death, because the reason that death is so potently and actively hurtful and so shocking to us is because it seems irreversible. It seems like that person is never going to be healed. That person is never going to be the same. They're always going to be off for the worse, gone forever. So then we ask ourselves, okay, if that is the problem of pain, it's really a problem of non-healing. How does the Christian God, Jesus or Yahweh, answer that problem? And he answers it perfectly, actually. And this is, something that's taken a lot of thought. And I think Christians and non-Christians, atheists, agnostics alike, all think about this. And from the Christian perspective, God actually answers this perfectly. Okay, why does he answer it perfectly? Well, number one, we have to see, the initial Christian answer. The initial Christian answer to the problem of pain is that God has a reason for your pain, right? And, okay, how do we accept that? Well, we accept that in part because God is the healer. He is the ultimate answer to pain, because if the problem of pain is a problem of non-healing, the answer to that problem is the healer, is the person who can cure sorrow, who can cure suffering, who can cure evil, and who can cure even death itself. And that is the Christian God. That is Yahweh. That is Jesus Christ. And that is why, more uniquely than any other religion, any other spiritual belief out there, Christianity in the Bible actually answers this question. Because when we examine God from Christianity's perspective, what we see is someone who offers healing. And he offers it to quite literally everyone. He offers the opportunity, no matter how much hurt you have, no matter how much pain you've suffered, or even how much sin, death, and pain you've inflicted on other people. he is still willing to offer that option. He's still willing to offer healing, which is why this problem of pain, which leads to the problem of non-healing, is completely reversed by God, even to death, even to the fact that Jesus rising from the dead is a event that cannot be overstated within the Christian faith, for the fact that it reverses what we thought was irreversible. It reverses the pain we thought was irreversible, the destruction and the consequences that we thought were irreversible. Okay, but how can I trust this? How do I know that this is true? How can I have the faith to believe in God and to, in a sense, let him heal me? Because if you don't believe in God, if you stop yourself from believing God because of the problem of pain, really, if God is real, all you're doing is you're saying, I don't want healing because I'm sick. And that doesn't make sense, right? You want healing because you are sick. You go to the healer to be healed of your sickness. But how can we trust that God is that healer? How can we trust that he is the one who's going to answer the problem of non-healing, to answer the problem of pain? The answer is because he did it. Because core and fundamentally to the Christian God is the fact that he is personal, he's intimate. So when we examine this, Christ himself is the answer to the reason why we can give God our hurt. He comes down from heaven. He takes on human form, which for a perfect, loving God who's all-powerful would be crazy. The infinite power that he sacrifices to be with us, to know us on a personal level. But then, he lives a perfect life when we cannot, where he doesn't inflict pain and suffering or evil on others. And then, afterwards, he is beaten, he is whipped, he bleeds, he is stabbed with iron through his hands, through his feet, and hung so that he can suffocate on his own weight. He descends into hell, and he comes back. That is the ultimate answer to the problem of pain. That God himself takes our pain on to prove that he is the ultimate healer. To prove that no challenge, no evil, no suffering, no trauma is too big for him, even to the point of death. And if every single trauma or piece of pain can be healed by going to him, then there is no reason for you to wait. There's no reason for you to continue to hold on to pain, continue to hold on to bitterness, when you know the answer, when you know the healing. Because the issue isn't the pain itself, it's the issue is that you're not willing to be healed. And Christ offers that healing. Okay, but what about for people who don't accept his healing? How does he fix the problem of pain there? Because Christianity in the Bible suggests that only those who believe on his name actually get this healing. And this is where God answers perfectly. Because this is where he answers in the question of, okay, you inflicted this pain and this suffering on the world. How do we make that right? How do we, in a sense, satisfy, bring an end not only to pain and suffering through evil, but actually bring it about in a just way? And that's hell. Hell is not within itself evil incarnate. Hell is actually the answer of justice incarnate, of justice being within a singular place. And it's for those who, if they're not willing to accept healing through Christ, then they're willing to accept justice as consequences. What we see here is a God and an answer to this problem that is perfect, and so perfect that it has to be divine. Like, humans can't make this up. They can't answer in the way that God has answered, and he will continue to answer. And that uniqueness, that power of the Christian God, how he specifically and explicitly gives us an answer and proves the answer through his own action and his own suffering, it just shows that there's no reason not to come to Christ. So yeah, this is me telling you, come to Jesus.